Welcome to the Dreamlands builders. This week we're taking a look at late age relay Dreamlands. In ages past, a distant star inhabited by a great race of strange alien beings was struck with an unimaginable catastrophe. The star fell from the heavens, breaking into tiny shards. One such shard fell through the spheres and down upon the world. The shard came to rest on the ocean floor, where a remnant of the great race adapted and survived. They multiplied and enslaved a race of fish-like humanoids by sheer strength of mind and conquered the underwater realms of the world. In the halls of Relay, the star spawns, the great ones who survived the fall, opened a gate to the void and unleashed the horrors upon the world. But the void was not to be controlled, even by the star spawns. The very fabric of the veil was weakened, and madness struck the inhabitants of the mighty Relay. Only the most powerful of the star spawns were able to keep their minds intact. The empire crumbled as insanity took the leaders, and the former slaves and servants of the empire were able to lift the yoke of Relay. But now a god is awakening, and it is a god dreaming of the void. The mind-breaking dreams of the sleeping god plagued the inhabitants of coastal and underwater cities, and with the dreams come the horrors. Strange cannibalistic cults worshipping the void call them from beyond. The dreamlands of Relay threaten to destroy the world. All coastal forts of Relay have a special well where women can submerge themselves in hope of becoming impregnated by the Great One. However, most will be taken by deep ones instead, and the women's offspring was strange fish-like humanoids instead of the noble star children they wanted. These half-human hybrids are usually devoted to the cause of putting mankind below the sea and often join the army of Relay free of charge. So as usual, Relay is absolutely insane, quite literally in this case, and one of the probably harder nations to play in late age. We have a pretty nasty domain effect and not the greatest troops or economy. Let's see what they've got going on here. For national features, we are, as a race, underwater, but that doesn't really tell us much. We just start underwater. For military, we have Atlantean and Oceanian slaves, hybrids, and illithids. Magic, we are very strong in astral, pretty dang strong in water, and we have some glamour and a bit of earth and nature. Our priests are average and can summon void beings, might get additional insane profits. That's a pretty cool little mechanic. When our units go insane, which they will, some of them can just decide to also become a prophet. So we can end up having multiple prophets instead of just the one that you are normally limited to. Our domain effect is kills population, creates dreamers, madmen, and void beings, makes all non-void beings, apart from the pretender, insane. This is a pretty rough one. The popkill, I saw some conflicting sources. I saw at least one that said it was 0.5 times your number of candles, but I think it's actually 1% times candles. So if you have 5 candles, you have a 5% popkill. It is pretty stark. It is pretty darn hard. It also makes things go insane. And as units go insane, they can actually transform into void beings, which is kind of an interesting mechanic. This also means that everything is basically affected by that, with the one exception of your pretender. For scales and blesses, we have a sloth limit of +1 and a magic limit of +1. For buildings, we build standard forts. Overall, rough. It's a rough pop kill with not the best free spawn to counter that. For sites, we have 2. We have the City of Unfulfilled Dreams. That gives us 3 astral pearls and a glamour gem, and the Void Gate, which allows us to recruit star spawn, also allows us to have it entered and hopefully summon in some really tasty void monsters. This is the gotcha inside of our dominions. Units and sacreds. We have a quite wide roster, and it's even much wider than what we can see here. However, a lot of these are not particularly of use. Starting us off, we have Lobo Guard. These are the same guys that we've always seen. They are very cheap at 5 gold, 1 resource, 2 recruitment points. They have below human stats, generally speaking, although notable for being 50 morale and mindless, which means they will fight until the bitter end unless they lose their magical leadership, because they are magical beings. So some instances, these can be really, really good. You just have to make sure that the leadership doesn't abandon them. They are also amphibians. They have dark vision, and they are slaves. These guys cost you 2 gold per year, basically free. They have 9 attack for 12 slashing damage, which isn't great, but for the price, that's actually not terrible. Many Lobo guards will die. Next, we have the Slave Trooper. He wields a Bone Trident, length 3, 10 attack, 18 damage. As an Atlantean type troop, he has a little bit better than human stats for 9 gold, 2 resources, 6 recruitment points. Of course, they are amphibian, they have dark vision, and this is a slave. Notable for having very bad morale here. Not a particularly useful troop. Although, do note that the Bone Trident is going to be on a lot of our troops, and this is the same weapon no matter how much you pay for a troop. So if you just need things to be stabbed, maybe you could think about this. Next up, we have Slave Guardian. It's the same guy, but now we have shell armor and a shell cap. 9 gold, 11 resources, 6 recruitment points, so a lot more resources needed here, but 12 protection is actually something. Still has terrible morale. Next, we have Slave Trooper. This one's an Atlantean type troop, or excuse me, an Oceanian type troop. These are, again, about human stats, a little better magic resistance, if nothing else. Underwater, they have really high combat speed and map move. They're amphibians and slaves. These ones have a stone spear that's only 12 piercing damage. That's pretty rough. But they also have a net, which can be useful depending on what you're throwing it at. Next, we have another slave trooper. This is, again, this one is more of a Pelagian. He is an aquatic slave. Better than human stats, 9 gold, 1 resource, 6 recruitment points, but he only has a stone spear, not particularly useful. Slave Guardian again, this is the same guy, but now he has shell armor and a shell cap. This is the amphibious version, so at least in my opinion, a lot better. Still only has that 7 morale though, so just be aware of that. Next we have Slave Guardian yet again. This is a Bone Trident version with the shell armor, the aquatic version. I don't like the aquatic stuff, generally speaking. I much prefer the amphibian, but these do have slightly better performance if you are underwater. Next, we have Slave Guardian again. This is an Atlantean chassis. Better than human stats, 9 gold, 10 resources, 6 recruitment points. They're amphibians, they have dark vision, they are slaves, same Bone Trident. Do note that they are 11 strength, so they poke for 18 piercing. That's pretty good. This one doesn't have a hat, and he's wearing shell armor. Next, we have Meteorite Guard, probably our best troop. 13 gold, 33 resources, 16 recruitment points. Those resources are going to very much be a limiting factor. Much better than human stats, 14 HP, 12 strength, 11 attack. This one is wearing meteorite armor and a cap, so he has 19 protection. He has good magic resist and actually good morale. They are amphibians, they have dark vision and are slaves, wielding a meteorite trident, which is a magic weapon. He's good with it, 11 attack for 22 magic piercing damage. By far our best troop. Do note, while it doesn't say cap only, these are going to be underwater recruits only. And I think that applies for everything in this row right here, despite the fact that it doesn't say that. So just be aware, depending on your map spawn, the test game in the background I'll show off at some point. I basically couldn't get a second underwater for it. So I could get maybe like 6 of these guys a turn if I really wanted to focus on them, and no more. So your mileage may vary on whether you decide to go for production or not. Next, we have a Shambler Thrall. This is another lobotomized type troop. So 50 morale, he is mindless, he's a magical being. These ones have a trample attack. They're amphibians, they have dark vision and are slaves. 20 gold, 1 resource, 22 recruitment points. Overall, these are pretty nice. Against the right targets, that size 4 trampling can be really good. And if they can't trample something, 9 attack, while not decent, they at least do 16 slashing damage. So you can kind of hit the armor of the era at least. So a little more pricey for sure on that 20 gold, but the trample in the right circumstances might make up for that. Next, we have a crab hybrid. Man, I wish these guys were aquatic and not, were amphibious and not aquatic. That is a big limiting factor here. 35 gold, 1 resource, 33 recruitment points. They do 2 pincer attacks, which are actually all right. And very rarely, they are untyped damage. So if something is resistant to, say, slashing, this will not be affected by that. But that being said, I don't see a ton of use for these guys. I really like the 2 attacks. I wish they were amphibious. Sad. Next, we have Illithid. These are very good, and one of the things that will actually help you expand. 50 gold, 1 resource, 37 recruitment points. Great stat line at 28 HP, 15 strength, 10 attack. only 7 defense, good magic resistance, okay morale. They're amphibious, they have blunt resistant, they are magical beings, so make sure you keep your leadership on the field. They have Spirit Sight and Void Sanity. These have Life Drain if they get into melee, which is a 10 attack, magic 15 damage, and you'll drain some of that HP that you hit them for, which gives you not only HP but also fatigue back. And they have an innate Mind Blast. Range 100, always hits. It does 1 point of damage, and they can paralyze people. Overall, very, very nice. Do note that the way this system works, once you go over 50 fatigue, they will stop mind blasting no matter what. Even if you get below 50 fatigue, they won't switch back into this mode. Not much we can do about this, barring maybe like relief. Unfortunately, these are not sacred, so we can't just give them a bless that would let them mind blast forever, like we could say on Early Age of Gartha with Olms or something. Still though, very, very good. Mind Blast will really, really help you out against heavy cavalry and knights, one of the things that we would very much struggle against, and actually does decently against crossbows because we have range 100, so we can sit way in the back and be out of range of the crossbows. Next, we have an incredibly cool unit that you're just hardly ever going to be able to afford. This is the Illithid Soldier. Same chassis, essentially, 50 gold, 42 resources, 37 recruitment points, same stat line, essentially. He has a Meteorite Trident as his weapon, a length 3, 10 attack, magic piercing, 25 damage, and then the same Mind Blast. He's also wearing the magic gear. I love these guys. I really wish that they were more usable. They're just so bloody expensive for the scales I tend to take on this nation that they're hard to get. I do love them as a couple bodyguards, magic weapons and armored up, and they have a Mind Blast. Kind of cool, if nothing else. Okay, moving on. Now we have some shore recruits. These are coastal reports. We have Hybrid. He has a spear and tentacle. Do note his spear does 15 piercing damage, so actually good enough to not be complete and utter trash. They are amphibians and have Spirit Sight. Other than that, though, they are relatively trashy. They do have a leather pierce, I suppose, but that's not going to help them. 12 gold, 3 resources, 21 recruitment points, and his brother, the Hybrid Trooper, who has actual armor on. Sharkskin cuirass, a cap, and a shield, same weapon, and the tentacle attack. Overall, these are actually kind of sort of usable. They're not stellar, but you're not going to be like in pure misery. The 15 piercing at least does something. They do have 2 attacks, so the attack density is relatively high. The armor that they have, it's not great. They do have a shield, but they're so low armored, even with the shield, I think they could get chipped away at by crossbows, so is what it is there. Finally, we have the Hybrid Soldier. This is again a coastal recruit. Very disappointing that these do not have Mind Blast. I really wish these had Mind Blast. 14 gold, 19 resources, 26 recruitment points, better than human stats. They are amphibious with Spirit Sight. They have a Bronze Trident, length 3, 10 attack, 20 piercing damage. So the attack damage is actually there. And they're armored with a plate cuirass. Do know, despite the fact that they are amphibian and are wearing a bronze or using a bronze trident, for some reason they decided to use iron for their plate cuirass. So if you do use their amphibian ability to go underwater, you're going to rust out all your armor. So I do kind of wish that this would be changed to a bronze breastplate, or give them a meteorite plate maybe, just so that they wouldn't rust out. That feels really, really bad. They are at 8 combat speed, but a lot of these other things that we're going to probably be using are also very slow or at 8. So that's fine. They'll stay with the rest of the troops. All right. Beyond those, we have a bunch of free spawn. I think I will throw them in here. So not those, what's these ones? This is not an exhaustive list, but this is a good chunk of them. So one of the main things that we do, as things go insane, you basically become dreamers. So the Void Dreamer is what we would like most of our crappy free spawn to eventually evolve into. It seems to be based on the unit occurring insanity, which seems to happen faster in higher Dominion candles. Maybe someone will correct me on that, but that seems to be what I could research and my experience. So Void Dreamers here, first thing of note, they are actual free spawn. They have no upkeep cost. Can't create them in any way that I could find. They are only created by going insane and becoming the Void Dreamers. Stat line, they're pretty mediocre. 8 HP, but 10 strength, 8 attack, 8 defense, slow. They have really good morale, good magic resistance. Stat line, trait line, they have amphibian, magic being. They don't eat. They're ethereal. They're floating. They're stealthy. They're very insane. They have spirit sight and void sanity. Now, the thing here of note, these are ethereals that are not spirit form. So you can actually put protection buffs on these guys. Unfortunately, we don't really have anything that we're stellar at. We have like nature 1, earth 1. But I think that's something that you may really want to consider if there's a possible way to get something on these. They would be much, much tougher with some protection. Like very, very useful if we could get that. For attack, they have Dream Touch. It's only 8 attack, and it only deals 1 magic damage, but it's false damage. As we've seen, that is incredibly dangerous. False damage is basically unhealable, asterisks on that, but basically unhealable unless you kill all the sources. We have multiple things that will be able to keep false damage on the field as long as we have our army on the field. And this will counter things that are regening. This will counter like heavy cav that don't have mounts that have really good magic resistance. You'll kill the mounts off very effectively. Pretty darn nasty little attack in all things considered. And the 1 damage here doesn't mean it has to be just 1. It's 1 plus 2d6. So it is magic resistance negates also. So again, getting ways to lower enemy resistance, aka magic scales where you're fighting, is probably the easiest way, is very important because that will definitely up your damage on these guys. Beyond those, human dreamers, it's a really crappy human guy with a pitchfork. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because these are all garbage. Deep One dreamers, these are, again, just garbage. At least they're amphibious, though. Merman dreamers, again, amphibious, pretty crap. Triton dreamer, these are the worst ones because they are aquatic only. Also, as our dominion spreads, we can just get free spawn. There seems to be a threshold. I couldn't find definitive information, but it does seem that you need to have higher dominion scores to get the better stuff. I started seeing some of these things relatively early, and I only got a couple of these later on. These are also things that can come out of the void gate. So like Vile Thing, this is an immobile. Are you the immobile? No, you're not the immobile guy. You have a little bit of move. You got some tentacles on you. Do note that all of these are going to be sacred. I don't know if we really care about our bless here. Most of these are kind of meh. They're not stellar, and you can't control how many you're getting, and the numbers are not incredible. So your mileage may vary on your bless here. Do note that I didn't say we had a sacred up in the regular recruits. We do not have a recruitable sacred. Thing from the Void, again, pretty nice. 24 HP, has regen, is an amphibian, shock resistance, cold resistance, poison resistance, magic being, has blind spirit sight, does a slime attack, which magic resistance negates, which is kind of interesting. I'm pretty sure that is like slime you would get from gooey water. That has some tentacle attacks. Elder Thing here has a paralyzed attack and a mind blast. If he dies, he does a paralysis explosion. Kind of cool. Thing that shall be not named. Amazing. 59 HP and a bajillion life-stealing attacks. These are very hard to deal with, especially if you can boost their protection a little bit. Also have Fear. Thing from Far Beyond. This is a immobile with a bunch of tentacle attacks and some mind blast. I will note that we could put these into a commander and then use something like Gate to move them around. So they're less immobile than they might otherwise look, but that's still a very expensive thing to be doing. Also, this guy's ethereal, so pretty nasty there. We also have these guys. The Thing of Many Eyes. They're immobile, unfortunately. Fire resistance, amphibians, it's kind of whatever. They do ranged weakness, which would be super annoying to deal with. I'm pretty sure this is the same weakness. It just permanently takes away your strength. But you can't move these guys around, so that's a little bit annoying on that. All these free spawn just appear, and when they appear, they actually can come in with commanders too. I'm going to go ahead and cover that since we're here. So these are free spawn commanders that we can get. Things like the Cultist, just a priest level 1, has a 20% chance to have some astral, is sacred, is insane. We have the cultist. This is an Atlantean one. Same stat line. Again, 30% chance to get astral. Really nice to get a free spawn mage. I'll say that. Hybrid cultist. Same guy. This guy's a hybrid. He's amphibious. Stone dagger mind blast. That's kind of cool. A mad cultist. 50% chance to get astral. Again, really cool. I like the model that they have here. Has a mask on. A void cultist. Again, same basic premise. 20% chance to get astral. And finally, void heralds. Void heralds, I'm not sure if these are actually free spawn. I think these are what your commanders can turn into. At least your mages and your priests. And they seem to retain some of their magic when they turn. Do I still have some? Oh, well, here's one right here. So this guy right here has astral and glamour. I think this might have been one of my illithids that turned. I'm not 100% certain, but I lost one somehow. So like you see here, he's got some magic. I think I had a bunch of them get caught. They are stealthy, so you can actually go out and do some stealth preaching. They have, I believe it's 40 stealth. If you are a priest level 1, obviously you could go do some preaching. One of the things that our insanity can do is we can actually have them become prophet, even if you already have a prophet. If one of these guys could do that, that'd be really nice. A holy 3 stealth preacher, very good. Also, they're ethereal, and they're ethereal that aren't undead, so you don't have to be banished or anything. So pretty darn nasty there, I would say. They also have glamour manipulator. That just means that if you don't normally have a glamour mage on the field, people can heal their false damage. This just prevents that if he's on the field. That is not everyone, though, because I definitely have at least, yes, our friend, the Vastness. Vastness are very, very powerful. 74 HP. They are ethereal. These actually do have spirit form. They have damage reversal. And I believe, yeah, they can be resisted, but it's still disgusting if you get hit by it. They have teleport and stuff, but this is not a commander, so that doesn't really help. They have affliction resistance, unsurroundable. They're storm immune. Bunch of void sanity, poison resistance, cold resistance, shock resistance, amphibian, sacred. They have double steel strength in melee, and they have 4 mind blasts. These are going to tire themselves out very quickly with this many mind blasts, but still very, very powerful little troop here. I would love it if we could force more of these to spawn. I've gotten one on by turn 26 in this game, so not a quick one, not something we can guarantee. Also, since we're on the topic of free spawn things, we can have astral mages enter the void gate and do summons. And we have this guy who is the best at it. We'll talk about him in just a second, but just know he actually has summoning skill, and summoning skill helps us get the better stuff. Heroes, commanders, and prophet. For heroes, we have at least 2. I seem to remember that there was a third one from Dom 5, but I haven't seen him. So we could get an Aboleth. He could still be hanging on. If you get this guy, he's cool. He's got Water 3, Astral 4, Glamour 2. Nothing unique to him, unfortunately, but nice, strong, free caster. We also have Stargazer, Water 2, Astral 5, Glamour 1, Priest level 2. He's also a pretty good summoner at skill 5. Summoning's very dangerous, though. I don't know if I would use him for that. He's strong enough in Astral to be able to cast some of the Astral globals just by himself, just to throw that into perspective. For commanders, we start with a scout, 35 gold, 1 resource. He's a standard scout, does have a poisoning knife. He's totally fine and usable. Next, we have the Trader Prince, 110 gold, 43 resources, 1 recruitment point. He's an Atlantean type troop, 27 HP, 16 strength, 12 attack. All that's really good. Has the meteorite gear, which is our magic gear, so that's rather nice. Has 100 leadership, which is also good. No magic leadership, though. A lot of our troops are magical, and it can be kind of annoying when you're going around trying to collect things that these guys can't pick them up. But he is one of our better leaders, is amphibious, and does have dark vision. Next, we have the Illithid Lord. 110 gold, 42 resources, 1 recruitment point. Has those good Illithid stats with 30 HP. Has the Illithid traits of amphibious, blunt resist, magic being, spirit sight, void sanity. He is a taskmaster +2. That will help out on a lot of those slave units. But do note, we only have 50 leadership, so that's only going to be a +2. Whereas if we use this guy, that's a +1. We also could maybe give him a taskmaster item. There's a whip that can do that. That could be helping out some there too. Although you could give to this guy too, I suppose. His main thing here is he also has magic leadership. and he's equipped with the magic gear and mind blast. I really like leaders who are actual troop leaders but still can do something, so he can stand in the back and at least mind blast some things for you. That's fine. Next, we have the Void Cultist, can be recruited in land forts. He's a priest level 1 with a tiny chance of getting some astral. Fine. Slave Priest, he's a priest level 1 sacred amphibian slave. That's a very cheap 13 gold per year priest. He's amphibious, that's a good thing. Not much else to say about that. Next, we have Star Child. This we can get underwater or in coastal forts. He is an astral 1. He comes in with 92 upkeep for 7 research. That's not great, but you're probably taking magic 3 scales. So let's pretend that is 10 research for 92, which is fine. Is amphibian, blunt resistant. He is a stealthy 55. Spirit sight, assassin level 2. Having astral assassins is pretty nice. He can body ethereal himself. He can mind blast. He does have a magic weapon himself. If you wanted to give him a gem, he could go up to astral 2 and maybe cast like paralyze on somebody, although mind blast can already paralyze, so meh on that. Overall, pretty nice. You could give him penetration gear that could help him kill things with mind blast. I will note these are really hit and miss. I don't think these make very good expanders. They're 115 gold, and you would probably need a group of like 6 of these running around doing assassinations, and you're gonna have some attrition. There are also 2 recruitment points, so they're going to be kind of slow to get out in any real numbers. That all being said, it's great to have assassins, and these are decent assassins. Give him a little bit of gear, like just like a piece of body armor, and he can ethereal himself, and he'll probably end up winning most of the fights that he gets himself in for assassinations. Next, we have this slave mage, actually a pretty potent mage, weirdly enough. 245 gold is a little pricey, 2 recruitment points. Comes in with guaranteed water 2, astral 1. Has a 100% chance to get water, earth, astral, or nature. This is our earth and nature access. Also can come in at just water 3. Water 3 is great. You can make a robe of the sea, which is a water booster, so you can get yourself to 4 here or boost other people. In addition, you could summon in bishop fish if you wanted to. A bishop fish, it comes in at holy 3. They are aquatic only, but you can get them out relatively easy. And who knows, maybe they'll go insane and make themselves profit, giving you a holy level 4 unit. Good way to use your water gems if you don't need them for water elementals. I should also note these have 98 upkeep per year, and they come in standard at 13. But again, we're probably taking magic 3. So that would be 16 research for 98 gold per year. So very nice and efficient. Water 2 and astral also means we can communion into falling frost pretty effectively, kind of meaning that we want to go cold most likely. Next, we have the star spawn. This is a water, I believe these are water recruit onlys, and water recruit and fort. Come in with astral 2, glamour 1, priest level 2, and 100% chance of water, earth, astral, glamour. So an okay spread there, but this costs 430 gold. That's really pricey for what I'm seeing down here. I generally only keep one of these guys around. Maybe if you're building up some glamour in your communion, that could be useful. I don't know. I mainly keep one of these guys around for his summoning skill. That makes a huge difference. And this is actually a skill that can level up if he successfully does summons. So he can get higher and higher, giving you safer summons and better summons. Also of note, just while I'm talking about the summoning here, if you give him a ring of returning or do a ritual of returning, that is actually something that can save him if he gets sucked into the void. When you're in the void, you tend to get assassinated. And as soon as he takes 1 hit of damage, and he has 30 HP, so he can generally take a hit, the ritual returning or ring of returning will bring him back to the capital, and hopefully nice and safe and sound. The spell returning will never work because you are not able to script assassinations on the defensive side, and they never cast returning defensively, unfortunately. Next, we have the Star Spawn. This is our cap only mage. Comes in with Astral 3, Glamour 1, and 2 100% chances of a water or an earth or an astral or a glamour, and an additional 10% chance. So you can look out here and get astral 5s on these guys. Not super duper uncommon. That'd be 25% of 25%, essentially, with a little higher bit for the 10%. Not not super uncommon, but not common either. Either way, this is a pretty darn powerful guy. Right off the bat, you can cast Soul Slay, you can cast Anti-Magic. Really nice. You have plenty of relatively cheap mages that can enter into a communion. Not you. Relatively cheap astral mages that could enter into a communion, and you could basically pop these guys as high as you'd like them. Master Mind Enslave, Will of Fates, Doom, all kinds of good astral spells you can cast with these guys, and you're guaranteed to be able to do it because they can easily hop into communions. Finally, we have the Hybrid Commander. This is a Coastal Fort recruit. Bronze Trident, Mind Blast, Plate Cuirass, has Amphibian and Spirit Sight. He's in that weird, awkward spot of 75 leadership, so no formations, unfortunately. He's okay. At least you can Mind Blast with him. Has the same problem with rusting gear, though. Overall, an okay lineup, nothing stellar here, and generally speaking, we're going to struggle to get out these guys that need the production. We have Sloth in our scales normally, so you're maxed out at production 1 if you wanted to go that route, and you probably don't. You probably end up going Sloth because we want a bajillion points to be able to make some really strong pretender chassis. Same problem with the Illithid Soldier. I love these guys, but they're just too pricey. You generally can't get very many of them out. Very cool, though. Overall, the Meteorite Guard would be love to expand with, but I generally found I couldn't afford him, so I generally dropped down to Slave Guardians here. They have 18 piercing damage and at least a little bit of armor, and I would supplement that with Lobo or Shambler Thralls, and then whatever free spawn garbage I would get to eat lances and the other stuff. Generally speaking, I'm going to spend most of my recruitment points on the Illithids. Once you get a critical mass of Mind Blast, that's when you're basically unstoppable for most expansion, and even a lot of Thrones can't really stand up to 50 Mind Blasters, let's say. Overall, an okay lineup of commanders, although expensive. I mean, this guy's 245, 410, 430, even down here, 110, 115. So we're definitely going to need a lot of money. And remember, we have popkill Dominion, so that's going to be pretty rough. We are probably going to try to spam forts. Forts do seem to protect a certain amount of our population. I couldn't find 100% reference to that. Enough people talked about it that I'll believe it. In my test games, I didn't have any provinces zero out or anything, but I would love it if somebody could verify that for certain. If that's the case, you're going to end up probably recruiting a lot of Star Childs from coastal forts, which at least they can either Light of the Northern Star or they can hop into communions for you. So overall, a pretty good lineup here. We're definitely looking at doing some big water magic and some big astral magic from what we have. National items and spells. As for national items, we have 2 national items. As a lesser magical item, we have the Anemone Mace. This is not particularly amazing, although could be interesting, I suppose, against the right target. Has good attack, does some poison, which also can paralyze. We also have access to the Jellybird. This is a construction 7 item, and it gives you a really nasty armor-piercing poison that's AoE 1, which is gross, and a paralyze. So if you were going to do some thugging stuff, and somehow you had Astral Fire cross-pathing, there you go. It also has Protective Force, which is a really good defensive thing. So this is a 2-hander, but actually a pretty good one, with the big AoE poison and paralyze, along with a shield effect. Really helps a 2-handed weapon stay useful. Other things of note that I think you definitely should think about. You want to consider Rune Smashers. This is not something we can easily natively do, but maybe make a pretender that could help with this. Having 2 extra penetration is very strong for a lot of the astral magic that we're going to want to be doing. In addition, other things of note, we are going to be looking at the penetration items like Spell Focus and Void Eye. Where you at, my Void Eye? Void Eye. So 2 penetration from a Void Eye, 1 penetration from a Spell Focus, and 2 more penetration from a Rune Smasher gives you 5 penetration. Very, very powerful on astral spells. So something to consider. And some water spells too. There's some like Sailor's Death is a magic save or die. So that could be something you also could consider there. Beyond that, astral boosters would be nice, although we don't really have enough earth to make most of those. For example, our Starshine Cap is the better one, but it requires construction 7. Our other option is the Meteorite Coin, but we need Earth 2, which we're not natively going to get. So if you lucked into a bunch of Earth Gems, maybe you could make that. Moving into magic, we have 2 national spells. First one is Conjuration 6, gives us Contact Void Spectre, requires Astral 3, which we can natively do, and 25 Astral Pearls. This is a really nice summon. I'm even going to pop out and show him right now so I don't forget. This guy right here is very unique in the game. So his stat line looks fine. 16 hit points is the big thing, 14 defense, good morale, great magic resistance. This chassis itself has Amphibian, Fear 5, Cold Resistant, Poison Resistant. It is an undead, is a magic being. That's kind of a weird cross-pathing. We are ethereal with spirit form. We are floating. We are stealthy 70, so very stealthy. Comes in with summoning skill 5. That is higher than our other guys, so we could consider using one of these. Has Spirit Sight and a bunch of Void Sanity. For melee, he has Drain, Life Drain, and Mind Blast. The big thing about these guys, though, they actually spread insanity. The Void Spectre is a skilled astral mage, but its greatest power is the one that affects the dreams in a very large ring around it. When the Void Spectre is in an enemy territory, it will bring insanity to both enemy forces and general population. This works as like the Reaper ability, so he's going to kill off, I think it's 5% of the population where he's at. In addition, he also drives people insane. So you can just have some of these sneaking around in the enemy backfield, driving their, let's say, their mages insane or their main army commanders insane. It does seem to stack if you have multiples of these guys. Another thing that's really interesting is this seems to take place at after movement. So that's really important because that means that you can move around and avoid people who are trying to patrol you out and still get some effect out of it. Do note, if you have these guys in a fortress that is being sieged by the enemy technically owns that province, so you can actually drive people insane while you're in a defensive siege. Conversely, that means when you are sieging somebody, you own the province and this will not work. So these guys are super duper interesting to me. I do think if I had a prophet die, I would make one of these my prophet because a stealthy 70 holy 3 that does Reaper pop kill plus drives people insane plus can stealth preach would be incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. I really like these guys. At 25 gems, I do think these are pretty properly priced, and getting some of these out will definitely drive people insane, literally and figuratively. If they try to patrol you out, just move away. Don't let them catch these guys. Very, very interesting, I will say. Going back into magic, our second spell is in Thaumaturgy 6, Dreams of Relay. This is a Astral 3, Glamour 1, so we're basically guaranteed to be able to cast it, 4 Astral Pearls. And this essentially, we can pull people in through their dreams into essentially a ranged assassination attempt. So we manifest ourselves in their dreams and we can kill them in their dreams. Spell does not work on mindless beings or those who never sleep. But overall, not terrible. The guy who's going to be casting this might want a little bit of gear just to ensure that you can win against, say, normal commanders instead of mages if that's who you happen to hit. But it's a range 10, which is essentially the whole world for most games. Even like a range 4 or 5 already can usually circumnavigate the globe. So basically the whole world, and we can assassinate. Also note that we don't have to worry about getting caught or anything, unlike with Mind Hunt. So very, very powerful spell here. Other things of note, I will say, Conjuration 3 for summon water power and water elementals, Conj 5 for full size. Conjuration 5 for full size water elementals. If you are in underwater battles, Voice of Tiamat is a really good spell. It searches all elemental sites underwater, can help with your gem income if you can get a few water gems up and running. At 6, I want to call out Assyric Knowledge. This is the best site searching spell in the game. It site searches, well, best non-national site search. It searches all things at 9. So even the sorcery paths are searched. It does cost 25 gems, and your mileage may vary in late age whether that's worth it or not. Also, we can do Ether Gate at 6. We don't natively have death, but if you bring some death in, say on your commander, Ether Gate is a really nice spell. It ups the number of Ether Warriors we get from Summon Ether Warrior, which is here at Conjuration 5 for 15 Astral Gems. You get a Ether Gate and you get 2 Ether Warriors. So a big boost up if you have the gate running. These are magical beings that have really good swords. I think they're Moonblades, which fight against magic beings. Very, very tough. Really, really good. And the gate spell itself also gives you another mage who can cast summon Ether Warriors. So you can have at least 2 mages being able to spam that out if you get that far. Alteration at alt 3, of course, we have Body Ethereal. I think that's probably the biggest one here, but going deeper, Baleful Star allows us to remote doom people. If you are cursed, you have a higher chance of taking afflictions. That's pretty powerful. Rewrite Fate is an area effect 20 plus, and it gives everybody the Twist Fate aversion, effect, which is really powerful. Beyond that, Wish is also here. If you do go up to Astral 9, Wish, you can wish for all kinds of things. Like if you wish for gems, I believe it gives you 20 of every gem except for Astral and maybe Blood Slaves. Don't quote me on that. Time Swap, top, very powerful. Very, very good stuff. Evocation, I think, is another very interesting one. At low levels, Arcane Bolt will help you when you're getting assassinated by crazy things. Solar Rays is a great spell for killing undead. Starfires isn't actually a terrible spell. It is an armor negating spell that Astral Ones can spam. Going higher, Stellar Cascades and Astral Geyser are gross and very, very powerful. We have lots of chaffy units, so we don't care if we hit them with horror marks, so we can fire away. We have mages that are high enough in Astral that we could Mind Hunt if we wanted to. Be very careful that you are not getting feeble-minded from that, though, because we can't heal that. Going up to 8, we also have Astral Tempest, a spell that's pretty powerful that most nations wouldn't want to cast. Requires an Astral 5 and 2 gems, and basically does armor negating 1 damage that is magic resistance negate. That's just a battlefield spell. We can bring armies that the low end of magic resistance is like 15, and we can natively cast anti-magic. So that would take that up to 19. We can have a very magic resistant army that we could just throw Astral Tempest up and start whittling away at the lives of the enemy. It's a very potent spell if you can actually get this off. Also of note, does not affect mindless beings. Well, we can summon in, or we could hire Lobo Guard and Shambler Guards who are also mindless. So we can have a very cheap amount of chaff that will never run away except until the mage runs away in front of a mage casting this. Gross. In addition, while hard to cast, where are you at, buddy? While hard to cast, I do think it's worth thinking about. Is there a way that you can make your pretender get Stygian Reigns available? It's also in Evocation, but we might want to be going to Evo 8 anyways. For 2 Death Gems, this is a battlefield-wide spell that gives invulnerability. This would combo really well with the Arcane Tempest that we would want to cast. Having the pre-spawn Void Dreamers that have 15 protection in addition to being ethereal. And remember, their attacks... Let me grab one here. Where are you boys at? Where are my guys at? I have a whole crew of them. Yeah, here's what I've managed to get in 2 years. Having these guys, remember, these are magic damage. And they would have 15 invulnerability on top of being ethereal while they're doing magic false damage to target. So just like with Late Age Atlantis, we can completely negate the problem with Stygian Reign. So just something to think about. Not something we can natively do, but if you're going to do the Evo route, consider it. We've already kind of talked about the construction items that we would mostly want to do. In Enchant, there's several things that are quite handy here. We have access to kind of the lower end of Glamour. We could maybe get somebody who could Twilight, so maybe up to like 3. So that could be a thing for some of that stuff. But the Astral. The astral stuff here, remember we have Spell Ward. Before we get anti-magic, this is a way that we can paint this out pretty effectively, pretty easily for us to cast. Astral Shield is a very potent defensive thing. Paralysis strength is 12 plus astral mage level. So if you have, let's say, an astral 3 mage cast this, it's 15 paralysis strength. That'll last for freaking ever on somebody. Dispel is an easy way that we can get rid of global enchantments. Eyes of God, we can natively cast this on recruitable units. That gives you full sight over the entire world. Anti-magic I've mentioned. Solar Brilliance, be careful on this one. We could blind all of your people. But if you're up against undead, aka Lemuria, 5 armor piercing damage. And we could cast this pretty easily in communions. So we could quite handily battlefield wipe Lemuria with that. Stellar Focus gives you 10 astral pearls every month. Does up the world drain scales by 1, which we don't like. We'd prefer people who are in magic scales so that they have lowered magic resistance, but I think it's probably worthwhile. Do note, increases magic by +3 where you cast this. So you're probably going to max out at magic 5 wherever you cast it. So just be aware, things are going to get horror marked, but I think we're already way past the point of caring about that if we're playing this nation. At 8, we also have Unraveling. If you are fighting somebody who is using magic beings, make sure that your magic beings aren't there, but you could cast this on them and quite easily wipe them out. I will call it out even though I never use it. Arcane Nexus at 9, very powerful, like game-winning spell. Essentially, you get a portion of all gems that are used for rituals, forging, and empowerment from the entire world. You don't get the astral pearls, you don't get blood slaves, but everything else. This can be incredibly powerful if things are being thrown out, like big crafting, big spells. Thaumaturgy, of course, gives us Mind Burn. Most of our things can already do Mind Burn natively, but it's available. Also, Teleport. Gateway is a way we can move things around pretty good. Imprint Souls is another way that we can do remote attacks on people. It kind of works with our popkill to get things gotten rid of. The other one, I guess I'll call out Nexus Gate. I never use this spell, but you can create a permanent gate between the current province and the Nexus. Essentially, the Nexus is another plane. Think of it like the cave layer. If you put 2 of these down in different areas, you can move from one into the cave, into the Nexus layer, and then out of the Nexus layer into the other place. So you can essentially stitch the world together and have very, very quick movement via that. I did also, I just realized I missed. I do want to call out Light of the Northern Star and Power of the Spheres. Most of our mages have Astral at some point, so Power of Spheres can help our elemental casters get a little bit higher without having to jump into a communion, and Light of the Northern Star just adds an extra Astral to everybody. So that'll be really powerful once we have the magic to, say, take a Astral 2, and then he can all of a sudden start doing Soul Slay or something. Could be really powerful. Overall, we're kind of specific in having water and astrals, the 2 things we can do well, but we have good access to communions and really powerful spells available from those 2 different schools. Okay, let's bring all that together. Late Age Relay is the only actual water nation in Late Age. Everyone else was defeated by Relay and had to go to coastal at best. So things like Late Age Atlantis, Etheria, etc. Unfortunately, those nations can probably kick our butt in the early game. Be very careful about getting rushed down by them. You're also going to be absolutely hated by everybody. Nobody likes their units going insane. And we also have really high pop kill. This is my capital. This game is on turn 26. I used to have 41,000 people here. Now I have 11,000 people here. So despite the fact that I actually have a citadel up here, I have a fort here, I had relatively good expansion early on. I've been in a couple wars, but that's whatever. My income is a measly 1,600. That hurts a lot. Do think about maybe giving yourself access to earth and fire, just a smidgen, so that you can actually do the alchemy spells to make gold. It might actually be that bad. In addition, in this game, I was testing out rushing for ascetic knowledge to do site searching. I searched here, 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 and here. Although I guess I still have one one going off. So in those, I found Garden of Bones, Mirror Wall Palace, Living Settlement, Dream Collection, Gem Deposit, Statue of Sitting God, Enchanted Tower. That's just for those three, that's 75 gems. That hurts. Look at my income up here. I spent 75 gems. Actually, no, I take that back. I spent 100 gems because I also did this, Halls of the Drowned. This is 100 gems worth of searching, and look what I have. Is that worthwhile? I'm shrugging really hard. I don't know. If you get lucky and you hit a couple good sites, totally worth it. I do think that we are a nation that desperately wants gems, but I could have done a lot of things with 100 astral pearls. I could have put up Ether Gate and done an Ether Warrior summon, just for example. So that's hard. I think maybe we only do that on the good places, aka thrones, swamps, areas that are going to have higher chance of having magic sites. In that case, maybe Voice of Tiamat would be enough for your water areas, and then astral search them high. Just a food for thought on that. Here, I have been collecting all of my free spawn, essentially, at least the aquatic or amphibious ones, and letting them turn over. This is turn 26, and I have 81 of these units. I started this game with Dominion 5, and I went up to 6 via building temples. So that just gives you a window into the speed that I'm getting these. I've been piling some other free spawn here just on my god, but I have used some in combat, so this is not a full list. I'd say this is maybe a third of what I've gotten. I hadn't got very lucky on summoning until just now when I did finally get a vastness. If you got one of these in the early game, that would help like absolute ton. You can see here's somebody being crazy, being research. I will also call out, where are you at, friend? This guy, I did not make him my prophet. He just randomly decided to become a prophet. I think I have another one somewhere. My prophet just died in a battle. Typical Babel, I know. I'm pretty sure I had another one, but he ended up dying too. So I've had one prophet I've made and 2 that made themselves. I've also lost a couple of my dreamers. I was trying to see if I could kill Micklin. Unfortunately, they patrolled me out. I got him kind of close though. So that would have been absolutely hilarious if I had killed Micklin with that. So overall, very map dependent again. Like I mentioned, I don't have any place to build another underwater fort, so I can't get any of my other decent-ish troops. And over here, guess who started and immediately took the entire area? Atlantis. And I can't really take Atlantis on early game. They're just so much better than I am. So much better. So you kind of need to build up a critical mass of mind blasters to be able to do anything. Once you do, we can actually expand pretty decently. We can kill heavy cav relatively well, and we can have the enemy crossbows fire into things that we don't care about, and we'll be able to kill the front line and then mind burn the crossbowmen. So we actually expand okay, but we're kind of slow to get that ball rolling. You kind of need like 20 to 50 mind blasters before that really becomes viable. But once you do, it's pretty good. Unfortunately, in this game, I lost most of mine taking this throne. So that's a major ouch. But as you can see, it's all right. I've purposely not been pushing my Dominion over here because I'm trying to keep this population alive to get some money. So I would really wish I could have taken more land around this so I could get more money. But as you see, other people rushed over here and took it. So hopefully someday we'd be able to do that. So if we could get these little colonies that don't have our Dominion in them while having a decently high Dominion inside of our core territory, I think that's pretty interesting. Is it good? No, but it's interesting. I like the idea that we're getting our money from these other areas and we're funneling it into the cult where we're just driving everyone insane and becoming void specters, essentially. So very fun and flavorful, if nothing else. Scales and pretender design. For our nation, remember we have a sloth limit of +1 and a magic limit of +1. Unfortunately, we are one of those nations that doesn't really have a very good selection of chassis here. We have the Archmage here, but he is aquatic only. That sucks. We have a Hydromancer. He is gem gen, water gems. That might be an avenue if you wanted to go the Voice of Tiamat route to search some water for some early gem income, possibly. I say early, but Voice of Tiamat's not exactly super duper quick. He has only 100 points. We have the Firstborn of the Star, 130 points, comes in Astral 2. I like this guy quite a bit. Do know I probably would not do any summoning with him because summoning, you're going to die. You're on a timer when you're doing the summoning action, and I wouldn't do that with my god. Also, I love this model. That is so cool to me. I love that. Moving up to Dom 2, we have Master Lich, we have the Ghost King. Those are fine, I guess. We do pop kill anyways, so maybe you just go all in and we go Death Scales 2 and just say, screw it, everyone's going to die anyways. Could be something. A Master Lich set up with to do Bone Grind maybe, or maybe Winds of Death could be a thing. Do note though, remember, we are not undead for the most part. We're ethereal, but not undead, so we're not immune to that. Earth Serpent and Worm both could be expanders. We would appreciate an expanding god to help us get going. But then once they do, they don't really have a lot to do. So I don't know. If I went with one of these, you're looking at Hardskin. Hardskin would help out a lot of those like monsters that's free spawn for us. A lot of them have no or low protection. So Hardskin wouldn't be the worst for those. So the typical worm build where we take him, we give him Hardskin. And I think we generally do this. This is just dirt cheap. And on this nation, we're probably doing something like this. Now you have, I'm just double checking you're not cold-blooded. Yeah, you're not cold-blooded, luckily. And he can cast Breath of Winter on himself anyways. So we're going to want this. We're going to want this. We're going to want some Dominion. Okay, that's fine. We could even get some growth. That's not going to stop anything, but maybe. Or alternatively, a new path is 80. We could get something. What would help us the most? Probably some extra regen. Or alternatively, yeah, okay, he could make Rune Smashers if we went this route. He could also give himself Fire Shield, which could be another way to help him expand. Or alternatively, I think we go Nature 2, and then he could give himself some extra regen. That could be handy. That gives us 1 bless point. Something like Resilient, if we went that route, would be fine. That's fine. It's playable. We have the King in Yellow. Very Cthulhu. We love King in Yellow. But the extra magic scale doesn't do anything. It doesn't stack with our nation. And we already have this pathing available on our guys. So unless I was specifically doing something here, I guess we could do Dread, maybe. And then like Magic Pen, perhaps. Something like that could be okay. Moving up to 3, there is the Uttervast. I do believe the Uttervast, yeah, you have to take that dormant. So just be aware if that's the route you want to take. Some people swear by him. I don't know. I don't know. I've never been a huge fan. He has spirit form, unfortunately. I wish he didn't. So I'm not certain on that one. Beyond that, we have Void Lord. Again, could be interesting. He's very expensive. He's 230 points for what? An unusable magic scale. We get a Water 1 and Astral 2. Well, you could easily get that down here for the same price. He's size 9. He's not a trampler or anything. I'm just not in love with that. Dagon is hilarious, but Dagon's not particularly good. I suppose if you wanted to, we could get a Dagon, probably take him dormant so that you could actually afford some stuff. We are a nation that can bomb our scales pretty hardcore, so there is that. This would get him Hardskin. Hardskin takes him to, yeah, he'd be in safe area there. That's fine. His big claim to fame is that he has Grab and Swallow. So you'd definitely want some water so that he can quick himself. And he's just going to run up and eat entire armies, which is pretty funny. I think he also has pretty high fear. Nah, he's just got 5 fear. That's fine. If I was going to go all in on this, I would give him regen. So I would probably go with that at that level. Yeah, you could actually make a build here. We actually can dump our scales hard enough that he becomes a usable one. That could be kind of funny. I wish we could take him as a wake, but, well, actually, we could do that. That actually is vaguely interesting. I would probably give him probably just Resilient for the extra point. Okay, Dagon, you have my attention. We can Hardskin high enough that with a self buff, he would be basically invincible. With the 2 nature, he could give himself regen, which he's missing. He has fear, so he already has a way he can win fights. He has 2 good magic attacks, and grab and swallow is pretty disgusting. Cannot be used on beings with size greater than half. So we could do, I believe that would round down. So size 4s. We could eat size 4s. Okay, we could eat a horse. Okay, yeah, I could see that. That's all right. Okay, all right. He also has the gift of water breathing. That could become relevant, depending. I'm actually going to save him. We're going to call him Hungry Harry. Work is a name in progress. Beyond him, we could get a monolith. We could get a statue of the world. We can have multiple prophets, so it's not the worst thing ever, but I just don't know what you're doing with these. Hard skin region wouldn't be bad on some of our best free spawn summoned guys, but we can't guarantee that we're going to get those things, and we're not going to get them in any large numbers. So I don't know about that. Let me go ahead and show off the build I mostly was playtesting with here. It is a firstborn. This is Star Child, the firstborn of the star. I like this guy quite a bit. He is an awake researcher to start you off with. He researches a crap ton. This is not taking into effect the magic skills, I don't believe. So he's actually going to start at 46 research. So he can almost finish a level 1 research in a single turn by himself. He is bringing in really nasty scales, and you could actually make these nastier if you wanted to go with death. If you're just like, well, everyone's dying anyways, I don't care. We could get 80 more points back there, and we could add some more. He's coming in with Fire 2, Water 2, Earth 2, Astral 5, Death 6, Glamour 2. Reason being here, the Death 6 means if I make him a Skull Stave, he can actually do bone grinding. Bone grinding, if we remember, doesn't usually affect ethereal things. So this would be a really late game thing where we're running around with a bunch of our Void Dreamers, but that could be a pretty nasty one. Limps are just gross. And even if you lose the fight, you've already won the war against that army because they're all going to die from limping. So that's pretty gross. In addition, this could be things like Tartarans later. I mean, we're already insane anyways. Why not? Other things there. It also gives me the death I need to do Ethergate, my number one favorite thing to do with lots of astral gems. He comes in with some water and some fire so that he can make those rune smashers. I do feel that rune smashers are just so good for astral nations that it's hard to say no to that. A little bit of earth means that he can do earth boots, and then he can forge a hammer so he can help out and get some crafting going for our nation. Astral 5 and the earth is also good enough to be able to make the coins of meteoritic iron for the astral buff. So we can make both the astral boosters pretty easy. That takes us to Astral 7. That's like Rings of Wizardry and Sorcery levels. So he's bringing in a ton of ritual and crafting utility, basically. And for the Bless, this was all right. Do remember that most of we have no recruitable sacred. We're just relying on randos. And we can always make ourselves a Shroud of the Battle Saint and put that onto other casters. So I mainly went with kind of a caster blessing. The reinvigoration also does help any of our things that have mind burn and are sacred. This is not enough. I do believe you need 5 to be totally neutral. Actually, no, I think you only need 4. This might be enough that they can mind burn forever without tiring out. This will not work for our illithids that we recruit because they are not sacred and we can't make them sacred. But any of the random stuff that we bring in that has a mind burn and is sacred, this would be enough. I actually spent 1 point on Arcane Command. It is kind of hard to go around and collect all of the free spawn. This just makes it a little easier. You get lots of free spawn priests, and so this will let them run around and easily collect up all the little free spawns that you're getting everywhere. Just a real quality of life thing. You could totally change this out for whatever else you want. And I also went with Arcane Finesse for, again, an additional +1 penetration. So with all the pen items plus this, that's at +6. So if you were fighting somebody who had, let's say, 14, you could take them down to 8. That's ridiculous. That Arcane Tempest will absolutely shred people if you're running around with 5 or 6 penetration. So that's going to be kind of one of my main things I want to try. I've actually only used that a handful of times ever. So we're going to make a good go at that. He also, I should note, can do the Stygian Rain thing I was talking about. So he is really invested in being an absolute monster in the late game. And in the early game, he can research and forge quite handily for us. I think we're going to be pretty happy with that. And there's some obvious other little summons and whatnot he can do with this pathing. We could even just empower him once in glamour, and he can make glamour boosters pretty easily. He's got the death boosters pretty easily, the earth boosters pretty easily. We have people who can make the water boosters already, so we're not too worried about that. And yeah, he should be pretty fun. I will say also, if you come out of the water and you boost him up to 3 fire, we could summon in fire spirits if we were just drowning in fire gems for some reason. And that would give us the ability to do the Fury line of spells. That +2 morale, +2 attack would really help a lot of our troops. That's a really long shot though, but just figured it's a possibility. All right, in conclusion, Late Age Relay has won the war in the water. Unfortunately, they have probably doomed themselves and lost the war in the end. Everyone's going to absolutely hate you. You are a popkill nation that also drives people insane. They are going to hate your guts no matter what. So diplomacy was never an option, basically. Also, note that a lot of our stuff is coastal recruit or water recruit. We're one of those nations that doesn't really benefit from inland forts. So if you're going to build an inland fort, try to grab like some crossbows or another useful indie if you can, because otherwise you're not going to have a lot that you can recruit. I mean, these are our coastal recruits. They were usable, vaguely usable. That's the best I can say about them. We're going to really want to focus in on trying to get some other water forts. I was unable to do that in this game. I would definitely be very interested in fighting Atlantis and trying to take this, but you're definitely not doing that in the early game because he will absolutely stomp on your face. I don't think we have a very good matchup there. We also like cold, generally speaking. I think if I knew that there was an Atlantis in my game, I would consider going heat instead, just because it will make Atlantis way less dangerous to you than having the cold. Atlantis and Calum to a lesser extent are just going to eye any cold nations with a lot of lust. They want that. Beyond that, though, fun nation, fun astral stuff. We have good water access. So if we do end up in an underwater war, while we don't have a ton of water income, we at least can hopefully site search a couple early sites, and we could do at least a little bit of water elemental summoning to just carry us through the early game and keep us alive. Beyond that, it's just a fun nation. It's got a lot of randomness. If you don't like that, you're not going to like the nation. I think we can do Cthulhu proud, though, and we can drive the world insane. So, I mean, at the end of the day, isn't that what it's all about? All right, if you enjoyed this one, builders, don't forget to leave a like on the video. That helps me a ton. If you're not currently a subscriber, I hope I've earned your subscription here. Cthulhu commands you. If you want to go above and beyond, you can always leave a super thanks on a VOD, join me live for a super chat, check out the Patreon linked in the channel info, or become a member here on YouTube. If you're a member on YouTube, don't forget you have early access to pregame videos such as this or other things that I am working on. Either way, thank you everyone for your support, and I'll see you in the Lake of Insanity. Babble out.